Okay, fire sale time. The Carolina Hurricanes are having a fire sale. The only one that apparently is exempt is Sebastian Aho. Sebastian Aho isn't going anywhere. So who else is going to move? Let me go ahead and grab a different colored marker. Um, honestly, here's the problem. So you got Jordan Staal here, okay? Jordan Staal, yeah, if you can find somebody to take that $6 million for the next 5 years. The problem is Jordan Staal doesn't belong as a number one center in the NHL. Part of the problem with Carolina and this word that the GM's like, all right, sell everybody. You need to add people. You don't need to be selling anybody. Staal would be an interesting one if they try to move him. And I don't know what you'd get back for him because I don't imagine he has a huge market value because of the $6 million price tag for the next 5 years. Teuvo Teravainen. Try saying that 3 times fast. His 64 points at $2.8 million. He's a restricted free agent next summer. They'd be insane to trade him. Insane. Because honestly, they need more help up front, which is why everybody's focused on Skinner. Jeff Skinner, for I don't know, the last 2 years, every time I hear of any kind of a Carolina rumor, every fan base in the NHL wants Jeff Skinner. I think to the point where he's overrated. He to me feels sort of like a younger version of Rick Nash. Good goal scorer, good guy, but you may be disappointed with the overall picture at the end of the year. At the end of the year, you may look at his numbers and say, well, all right, that's good. He can get better though, right? And that feeling that he's going to get better may cause fans to be disappointed with his play. I like Skinner personally, but I don't see him as anything more than a 25, at most 30 goal scorer. And I don't know that I see him as a player that you're going to galvanize around come a playoff time. We haven't had a chance to find out yet because Carolina can't get there. And I find it weird that Sebastian Aho is seen as untouchable. That's why I didn't even put up his cap hit because it doesn't matter. But Skinner's not. And Staal is, and Teravainen is. Lindholm, I'm not going to circle anybody from here because I think that the value comes down a little bit and or the speculation gets a little bit less intriguing with the forwards. Lindholm, you can't trade Lindholm. Come on. He's a restricted free agent this summer. You can probably keep him for cheap. 44 points this year. He's gradually building his way up. I think, honestly, he's going to be a 50, 55 point player when he hits his prime. And they'd be crazy to unload him right now. Williams, yeah, you can probably trade Williams. I don't know what you're going to get back for Williams. This league is getting younger and faster, and I like Justin Williams. 16 goals, 35 assists. Those are very healthy totals for a $4.5 million cap hit. I don't know who's going to pick him up. Would the Kings bring him back? Would Chicago look at him as a possibility with Patrick Sharp retiring? I don't know. Because both of those teams are looking to get younger and faster. Brock McGinn. He's a restricted free agent next summer, 16 goals, $887K. Again, this is the problem. Victor Rask, 14 goals for $4 million for 4 more years. I don't know how much value he has. Stempniak's UFA, he's gone. DiGiuseppe is a restricted free agent with 5 goals. Ryan, 15 goals, 23 assists, 38 points. He's UFA this summer. His value only exists if you sign him, and if you sign him, why are you going to get rid of him? Martinook, I didn't bother looking much up with him other than he has a cap hit of $1.8 million next year, and they just picked him up in a trade, so they're not trading him away. Which leaves you with Joakim Nordstrom. He's a restricted free agent with 2 goals. My biggest problem with this fire sale, Carolina's having a fire sale. What are you selling? It reminds me of Jim Benning a couple years ago letting all the GMs know and telling the press, hey, Chris Higgins is available. We knew that. Okie dokie, thanks. Blue line is far more interesting. Falk, 31 points, $4.8 million for 2 more years. Will somebody think Falk is worth making a trade for? Maybe. You have to find a team that has a cap hit that they could take on that cap hit that won't necessarily be looking to dump cap on these guys, because I really think that if they do get rid of somebody on the blue line and bring something back, I think they're going to want to drop the cap hit on a guy like Falk so that they can potentially bring in a Tavares. You put a Tavares in the middle here. You have Tavares, Lindholm, and Rask. You might have a solid middle. If you can move out Rask, you have Tavares, Stahl, and Lindholm. That's pretty solid down the middle. Now, I understand that these are not 100%. There's more right wingers or left wingers or whatever on the roster currently. I think there were like 6 left wingers and a couple guys listed right wing, so I thought, screw it, I'll just put it on the board. Because we're only talking about trade value. We're not actually projecting lines. Guys are right now. The lines are all wrong. Hanifin's a restricted free agent this summer, and if they trade him, they're insane. They're insane to trade Hanifin. Now, if you want to talk about Carolina Hurricane players with maximum value, that's Noah Hanifin. If you want to talk about Carolina Hurricanes that are number 1 on the list of don't trade this guy, it's not Sebastian Aho, it's Noah Hanifin. If the new owner decides that's the guy we're going to trade, he's crazy. And I got to say, if he decides he's going to trade Hanifin, Kyle Dubas should be on the phone and say, hey, Carolina, because Hanifin would be perfect in Toronto. Just throwing that out there. And I know he's going to get a big cap hit, and it would be difficult to fit everybody under the cap, but odds are they take one of the young forwards back in return. And Hanifin, I really think, is going to be fantastic if he gets moved. I think he'll be fantastic if Carolina keeps him. They'd be insane to move him. Jacob Slavin, 8 goals, 22 assists, 30 points this year, $5.3 million for 7 more years. At the time Slavin and Pesce were signed, those were seen as great deals. And I still see them as great deals, but there's a tremendous risk with 7 more years for Slavin. He didn't play as well this past season as he did the year before. He could be on the market. I think of the top 4, you could get the most back without giving up the most with Slavin. As in, the asking price for Jacob Slavin is going to be very similar to that with Noah Hanifin. Slavin does not have the upside of Noah Hanifin. I don't think anybody's going to argue with me on that one. He might be the biggest name to be on the block along with Jeff Skinner. Pesce at $4 million for 6 more years. I don't know that the value makes it worth picking him up. Dahlbeck's a restricted free agent, so is Trevor Van Riemsdyk. And the net, they need to add in the net. Darling, 3.18 goals against, 888 save percentage. He's signed for 3 more years at $4.5 million. And then there's Cam Ward at 2.73 million or 2.73 goals against, a 906 save percentage. He's unrestricted this summer. So there's no trade value in the net whatsoever. So what you've got is you've got Skinner and Slavin, to me, are the most likely who are going to get moved. I don't know what you get back for them. So this whole thing about fire sale, what is Skinner worth right now? He's an unrestricted free agent next summer. You don't want to give up a ton. You want to make sure you sign him to an extension before you trade for him. And Slavin, is he worth $5.3 million? Is it a fair payment? Is he getting paid too much? Does he get paid too little? Depends on what GM see. I haven't even got into this side of it. Nikash isn't going anywhere, I would think. Bean, I'd be very surprised. Fleury, they might try to move Hayden Fleury. You've got a lot of young blue liners. They might try to move Hayden Fleury to beef up one of the forward spots. I don't know what Hayden Fleury's worth. Nedeljkovic is probably going to slot in as the backup next year. He's had a relatively decent year for the Charlotte Checkers. I would think they'll give him a shot. Warren Fogle came in. He's capable of replacing somebody up front. If they decide to move on from any of their forwards, he can step in, but his trade value is minimal. McEwen's trade value is minimal as well. Zykov, I would think Zykov will slot into the lineup next year. So for fans in Carolina, like, who are we going to lose? I would think probably Skinner and Slavin. I mean, I guess somebody might want Rask's $4 million cap hit for 4 more years. But the interesting thing to me is Carolina doesn't have a great roster. That's how they ended up out of the playoffs. And when you're looking at a roster that isn't as good as another team's, and you're trying to improve, it can be really tricky. Because right now these guys want to get back in the playoffs. Now, The one name not on this board is Svechnikov. Svechnikov's going to be the number 2 draft pick. He's going to change things up front. Just adding Svechnikov to this roster, I think, makes them a playoff team. My biggest concern is that if they do blow it up, and there's a lot of names that get moved off this board, the owner could do more harm than good. But let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Let me know which guy I didn't circle or which guy I didn't put an asterisk next to you think has a ton of value. I didn't put the asterisk next to Hannafin because they'd be insane to trade him. But let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through. You just happened upon this video. And with Carolina, it's going to be an interesting summer. Thanks so much for watching. I'll talk to you again soon.